girlfriend buried the kid in the backyard.
These crimes are horrific. Whatever this child's life was supposed to be, you make sure it didn't happen.
I knew I was sick or evil or both.
220 dispatch, you jumped. We have fire out here. Yeah, well, where is he in the water?
In custody at 324.
I have to imagine that at some point you got on the internet and said, how do I bury a body?
I am so very sorry. I deserve whatever I get because of what I have done.
Hi y'all, it's Lady Curious. This video is exclusive to only Raven Investigates channel. Please like and subscribe. This video is not a deep dive video. It is a shorter informational video. Something I wanted to do a little different. It's about 3 missing boys that actually went missing in national parks. It is crazy how many people go missing in national parks. And it's like, poof, they're gone, nothing's found. Sometimes they'll even find like clothes folded and stacked. It's just really weird. There is this retired detective that used to do a lot of these cases back in the day, and his book is called 411, something along those lines. I will try to, in the description, put a link so y'all can go check it out. I used to love listening to it on Mr. Ballin's YouTube channel, but I guess they got in some type of legal situation, and the detective / Arthur told him that he could not read his stories on his channel anymore. This isn't one of his stories. This is in my own words. I just kind of summed up 3 little boys that did go missing. The first one is actually in 1958. So we're going way back. There's a lot of conspiracies around missing people in these parks. Some people say that animals could have gotten them and ate them and dragged them somewhere. Many people say that it could be some type of predator, a human predator. And, you know, there is these creatures that we cannot say their name, skinwalkers, and wendigos, all of these things that are mysterious, that live in these parks. And I believe it. I really do. A lot of these cases, not particularly these cases that I'm going to talk about, but some that I have read, I believe in aliens, y'all. I really do. And they're walking among us, and I really feel like these people are getting abducted, and then because they will find their clothes folded perfectly, just sitting on a rock somewhere, and they never see the person again, or they find the person and they are naked. It's just so weird. If you want me to, okay, let's get to it. These are old cases. I do not have any type of videos or news reports because I can't find anything, y'all. I cannot find any news reports. I cannot find any type of interrogation videos because these people went missing and they have no idea who did it, and some cover-ups and a lot of stuff. And I will go ahead and warn you that everything I'm going to say in here, I got all the information off of credible sources online. This video is for educational and documentary purposes only, so do as you will with the information I'm going to give. Also, I want to say there is a trigger warning of this first story about kids being SA'd, and if you get upset too easily, I think you should go ahead and kind of skip forward about 4 or 5 minutes and see where I'm at. Okay. Robert Bobby Bizup. They call him Bobby, so throughout this whole thing, I'm going to call him Bobby as well. He went missing August 15th in 1958, and at this time, he was only 10 years old. He was born around 1948. Bobby was a sweet and happy child. His family said that he always had a smile on his face. He loved baseball, and There's actually a picture that I will put in of him with his bat because he just loves baseball. And he was actually deaf. He wore a hearing aid, but they said the hearing aid didn't really do nothing. How he would communicate is through sign language and lip reading, and only his parents understood what he was saying because of not being able to hear. It kind of made him have a speech defect. For a couple years, he went to a camp, a Catholic camp, St. Malo, near Meeker Park in the Rocky Mountains National Park. This was in Colorado. This camp was a fun experience. They said the boys were allowed to just do whatever they wanted. There was a lot of hiking trails, there was fishing, they did all these activities, and it was like a church camp, you know? Like you send your kid off to church camp, and they only paid back then, I think, $30 for the experience. And back then that was, you know, kind of expensive in 1958. He would go almost every year. I think he was on his third year. There was a director there and a priest, and they had priest counselors. He was a son of Sergeant Joseph and Constance Bishop, who resided in Denver. His dad was in the military. So it's reported from one of the counselors that he went to go fishing around 6 p.m. This fishing spot was maybe about less than a mile away from camp, and the counselor took him out there. And then, you know, eventually the counselor left and said he'd be back later to get him for dinner, have fun. And unfortunately, the camp counselor said that he went back for Bobby and he was there. He said, "Okay, Bobby, it's, you know, follow me. It's time to go in." And the camp counselor stated that as they were walking back and Bobby was behind him, walking, when he got really close to camp, he turned around to make sure Bobby was behind him, and he was still there, but he turned around and Bobby was gone. Nowhere to be found, supposedly. Poof, he was gone. That's what he said. He tried to go and look for him up and down the trail and went to the camp, and they called the police. 300 volunteers showed up. They searched for Bobby 4 days straight, covering 4 miles in all directions from the camp. Dogs searched the woods, skin divers searched the ponds. The only thing they found was his bait box, a mile from the creek where he was last seen fishing. The director, Heister, stated he thought Bobby was hiding. When people started hearing the news about Bobby going missing, you know, tips came in from town saying that they seen Bobby 15 miles away from the camp in town. Some witnesses said he walked into their hardware store. They even tried asking him questions, but he wasn't responding, and he was pointing to his mouth and ears. But when they tried to approach him to understand more and sit him down and stuff, he quickly left. He got scared. And that was the last possible sighting of him. 1 year after he went missing, 3 counselors from camp found scraps of clothes, some bones, and a child's hearing aid was found 3 miles from the camp in a mountain ravine. Don't you think that's weird? Why are they out there? You know, I guess maybe they were walking around and maybe they were just looking, you know, because it was only a year after he went missing. And the 3 counselors were walking around and they found this stuff in a ravine. And, you know, Bobby was deaf and he had a hearing aid. So they knew it was his. And they knew they found him, or what was left of him. Now this is gonna get really kind of fishy because something new came up in the case. They thought that was it, that either Bobby got lost and he perished because of, you know, starvation, it's too cold, it's too hot, the elements got him, or an animal got him. They had no idea, so they let it go. But in 2021, like 60 years later, in the Denver area, a man, Dr. Tom Mikulski, he contacted federal authorities because after he watched Mystery on Mount Meeker, a documentary, in late December of 2021, he felt like what he had in his possession may be linked to Bobby. See, Dr. Tom Mikulski said that what he had in his possession had been originally in his father's possession. Dr. Joseph Mikulski, a prominent member of the Catholic Church and a close friend of the priest, who was running St. Malo Camp when the boy vanished. Unfortunately, Joseph Mikulski died in 1980, and Tom Mikulski said he took possession of this said thing a couple years later. Tom said that the only thing his father ever told him was that it may be the skull of a boy who disappeared from camp. He said he couldn't remember his dad's exact words. Over the years, he said he tried several times to identify the boy and find news stories about the disappearance. He said that the skull was stored in a paper sack in his basement all these years. He handed the skull over to federal authorities, and right now, as I am saying this to you, they are still investigating and doing DNA to make sure that the skull belongs to Bobby. Nothing has came out yet. If it is his, I will keep you updated. The discovery adds another dimension to a mystery in which many of the key players are no longer alive, and numerous questions remain unanswered. It's very sad. I think we can all speculate that this missing person case could turn into a homicide case. Tom said he couldn't fathom the reason why he would have this skull in his basement. His dad had this skull that the director of the camp, the priest of the camp, when Bobby went missing. That's like red flag city right there. The prosecutor in this case stated the whole situation seemed to state that the director had a guilty mind about something. I just really hope his family and Bobby finally get peace when they figure out if this skull is his and he can completely be laid to rest. I do want to include this information, but in 2019, there were reports of child sexual abuse by 43 Colorado priests, which molested 166 children between 1950 and 2019. That is crazy. The founder of this camp was reported for repeatedly sexually abusing a teenage boy in 1949 and 1950. His victim, the teenage boy, came forward in 2002. But for some reason, it was never put into his file. There also was a counselor there named Robert White, who had 63 victims between 1950s to 1960s. Could this be what happened to Bobby? Like, he went missing in 1958. That's just right there before the cutoff. I mean, what happened? Did he take Bobby out into the woods and Bobby tried to fight back and it angered the counselor and so he ended up killing him? Try to stage it as a missing person? Just a lot of stuff doesn't add up. It is so disgusting that we trust these camps to take care of our children, especially religious camps. It breaks my heart that this happened to this little boy. He was 10 years old. That's it. He had all of his life to live. I just rest easy to Bobby and his sweet soul. And I am so sorry this happened. I will let y'all know any type of update on his case. If I do, I will leave it in the comment section when I do find something out. The next little boy that went missing, his name is Dennis Martin. He was born June 20th, 1962. Now, he was only 6 years old when he went missing. It's so weird how people go missing really close to their birthdays. Dennis disappeared on June 14, 1969, in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park in Tennessee. The search was the biggest in the park's history. 1,400 searchers and a 56 square mile area was searched for Dennis. Dennis is a resident of Knoxville, Tennessee. He was visiting the Great Smoky Mountains along with his father, grandfather, and older brother on Father's Day weekend in 1969. The camping trip was a tradition for the Martins. The family would hike from Cades Cove to Russell Field and would camp overnight. The next day they would hike to Spencefield Appalachian Trail, where they planned to spend the night. Dennis disappeared around 4:30 p.m. while he was being mischievous and while planning on surprising the adults with his brother and other children from a separate family the Martins were camping with. He was last seen by his father going behind a bush to hide, intending on surprising the adults with the other children. After not seeing him for about 5 minutes, and when all the other children had returned to camp, his father became concerned and began searching for him. Now, don't y'all think that's weird? He was like yards away from his dad and went behind a bush to, like he just poof, gone. Where did he go? And I am sure the other kids, if they would have known Bobby was in trouble or something happened, they would have told the adults. I just think that's so weird that he just went behind a bush and then disappeared. There wasn't any foul play. I don't really know what to say, but let me continue. After several hours searching, his dad called the park rangers for help. Unfortunately, a downpour broke out shortly after Dennis's disappearance. It dropped about 3 inches of rain in a matter of hours, which unfortunately this kind of gets dangerous because it washes out trails and it causes the streams to flood. And if you're 6, that would be scary, being lost in the woods and it pouring and you can't see anything and you're slipping and sliding in the mud and you're cold. I just can't imagine. And on June 14th, that night, it dropped to nearly 50 degrees outside. That is cold. I mean, I'm from Florida, and that's cold for me. Footprints were found in the area, but dismissed as being Dennis's, and determined by park officials to have been left by a Boy Scout participating in the search. The child-sized footprints led to a stream where they disappeared. The tracks indicated that one foot was barefoot while the other was in an oxford, the type of shoe Dennis was wearing, or tennis shoe. Some believed it was Dennis's. A shoe and sock were also found. By June 22nd, 56 miles of ground had been covered. More than 1,000 searchers continued to look until June 26th, when the search was cut back. The search was abandoned on June 29th after a last search. The search was officially closed down on September 14th, 1969. As of 2021, it is still the largest search in the history of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Dennis's father did offer a reward of $5,000 in 1969. But just think about it. That's a lot of money back then. Equivalent to today, it would have been $37,000 reward just for some information. A few years after he went missing, a ginseng hunter claimed to have discovered the scattered skeletal remains of a small child in Big Hollow, Tremont. He kept the find to himself until 1985 because of the fear that he would be prosecuted for the illegal ginseng hunting. That's crazy. Like I said, people, if you see something, say something. This is crazy. But he did say something, and they did search where he said, but it turned up nothing. The unsuccessful search for Dennis led the National Park Service to review and amend its policies on searching for missing people. Now, people in the media and people, just regular people like us, has came up with about 3 theories on what happened to little Dennis. The first theory is he became lost and perished from exposure or some other cause, likely during the first night. This is the most probable theory according to park officials. Now, the second theory is he was attacked by a hungry bear, or even a feral pig, and was carried off and never seen again. The third theory is that he was abducted and taken out of the park by something or someone. His father was proponent of the third theory. On the afternoon that Dennis disappeared, tourist Harold Key and his family heard an enormous, sickening scream, and shortly thereafter witnessed an unkempt, rough-looking man running up the trail near where the scream had come from. Key looked on as this man got into a white car and abruptly sped off in it. Park rangers and the FBI concluded that there was insufficient evidence to link the sighting to Dennis's disappearance, particularly given that Key's sighting was about 5 miles away from where Dennis disappeared. The exact same time of the sighting was unknown, and the lack of trails connecting to the 2 sites just didn't make sense and didn't seem like it was possible. Dennis was never seen again, and his body still has never been recovered. My thoughts and prayers are with his family, and I'm very sorry that you lost such a cute, sweet little boy. Rest easy, little one. Now, the third little boy I want to talk about was actually more recent. In the 2000s, his name was Samuel Bulkey. Now, I'm going to call him Sammy because that's what his family called him, and that's what I've been calling him throughout this whole thing. He went missing on October 14th, 2006. He was born August 10th of 1998. He was 8 years old at the time, y'all, that he went missing. He was with his dad for the day, just north of Crater Lake in Portland, Oregon. He is the son of Kristen Becker and Kenneth Bulkey. His parents divorced in 2005, just 1 year before his disappearance. Sammy was having fun with his father that day, and they were walking near the lake. Now, I do have pictures and stuff I'm going to put up of the lake, and so you kind of have an idea. His father said that Sammy ran about 50 feet ahead of him, laughing and playing and cutting up, and his dad couldn't keep up with him. You know, Sammy went over a hill, and he was laughing and thought that they were playing tag or something, and when his dad ran after Sammy after he went over this hill, he never seen Sammy again. When he went over the hill, y'all, Sammy was gone. He wasn't at the other side of the hill. And it was like only a couple of seconds, you know, that he had to catch up to Sammy. They searched for a week around that whole area with dogs, volunteers, helicopters with heat-sensing radars, just everything. And they still could not find him. Like, what happened to this little boy? Could you imagine just not even a minute, and you're actually running after your kid, and they're not there? That is the most creepy thing I have ever heard, the most horrible thing that could ever happen. I have 3 kids of my own, and I could not imagine chasing after them and playing tag and telling them, no, come back, stop, you don't go too far in front of me, and da-da-da. And then when I get there, just over the hill that they just went over, and they're out of sight for like seconds. And when I got over the hill, they weren't in, you know, the distance or hiding in the bush somewhere on the sides of where I last seen them. That just blows my mind. They still haven't found Sammy. Sammy was a normal, happy 8-year-old little boy. He loved root beer, mac and cheese, corn dogs, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, Legos, and Tinker toys. Now, Sammy was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, but at a high-functioning autism. This is exactly what my 15-year-old son has. And he also suffers from it day to day. Sammy unfortunately suffered and had extreme reactions to loud noises and bright lights. This family had been through so much because just a couple months before their son went missing, Sammy's grandfather died. Sammy's memorial service was on November of 2006. Becker, who was working on a eulogy for a memorial planned for Saturday, said that at Thanksgiving dinner, Sammy always declined mashed potatoes and salad, but focused on turkey and his grandmother's hot rolls. He would just devour them all. Now I'm going to tell you, me, myself, I love me some rolls. I love to dip them in the mashed potatoes and stuff. But his family described Sammy had a passionate personality, bordering on stubborn. His joys were as deep as his disappointments. His mother said she just needed evidence of Sammy for the final grieving process to occur. Still, his mom laughs out loud as she describes an exuberant phone message that Sammy left her from school last June, describing what a good day, and he was earning a smiley face sticker from the teacher and playing with his friends. That message was important to me before he was lost, she said, and now it's precious. So a year after he disappeared, she was interviewed, and this is what his mom said about Sammy. I'm very sorry for all the parents that have lost a child, and especially when you can't move on because you don't know what happened or where they're at, and there's always a piece of you that want to say, hey, they might still be out there somewhere. I want to give my thoughts and prayers to all these beautiful families, and just rest easy, Sammy, Dennis, and Bobby. I know Bobby's was a little bit different because they probably have found him, but it's still not completely sure. There's still questions. The other two boys were never found ever. I'm a very empathetic person, and I can feel the pain that these families probably went through, the devastation. There will be a little video at the end of kind of a remembrance video. It's just a couple of pictures of the boys put together. I hope y'all enjoy it. Please, for more videos, go like and subscribe to this channel. It lets us know that we are doing something right, that you want to keep coming back and listening to our stories. I know this video was a lot different than others I have ever put out. I want to do a little more conspiracies, missing people, cold cases, and true crime. So, don't forget to click on the icon, little bell, so you will know when we post a new video. I love y'all so much. Thank you for supporting us. I'll see y'all next time. Have a wonderful day and stay safe.